Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to solve a massive corporate finance mystery. Have you ever wondered why updating legacy technology always seems to cost vastly more than anyone initially planned? We're going to uncover exactly why 45% of modernization budgets just seemingly disappear into thin air. I'm absolutely thrilled to guide you through this, because honestly, once you see the hidden mechanics of software budgeting, you'll never look at a vendor proposal the exact same way again.
So, according to a recent Wakefield research survey of enterprise technology leaders, an incredible 79% of modernization projects completely fail to meet their original budget or schedule expectations. 79%. This isn't just some rare anomaly we're talking about. This is quite literally the industry standard. And Gartner research corroborates this right down the line, showing that despite massive capital investments, most organizations completely miss their intended modernization outcomes.
Okay, let's dive into this, because this is where the mystery really begins. Picture a chief financial officer receiving a legacy modernization proposal. The estimated cost for development is quoted at $800,000. It looks solid, right? But historical performance data tells us that the final invoice will almost certainly balloon to somewhere between $1.04 million and $1.16 million. That is a 30 to 45% overlay. So where does that money actually go? Who's taking it, and why on earth wasn't it in the original quote?
Section 1. The disappearing budget. As the global application modernization services market explodes, accelerating toward a projected $51.45 billion by 2031, the procurement frameworks enterprises are using to evaluate these massive initiatives, they remain dangerously incomplete. They're essentially flying blind.
When a vendor hands you a quote, they're typically only giving you that largest piece of the pie, the base development. That's the engineering labor to actually write the new code. But that base quote is really only part of the story. The extra slices, data migration, integration debt, the parallel run, and change management, those represent the missing 30 to 45% overlay. And look, this isn't a vendor maliciously deceiving a buyer. It's just an accepted industry budgeting convention that quietly transfers the risk of discovery right back onto you, the client. Section 2. The 4 hidden culprits. Let's interrogate these 4 hidden line items that quietly siphon funds from that pristine initial proposal so we can stop them in their tracks.
All right, meet culprit number 1, data migration. Whenever you see a phrase like this on a proposal, man, alarm bells should be ringing. Assuming that legacy data will just neatly slide into a brand new system is consistently the most expensive and dangerous assumption in any software proposal. Legacy databases are notoriously messy. Systems that have been running for 10 or 20 years are absolutely full of unchecked schema drift, bizarre formatting inconsistencies, and orphaned records.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that the failure isn't usually due to technical limitations. It's almost always due to poor data quality in the source system. You can't just copy and paste decades of data. Every single table needs auditing. Undocumented business rules surface, conflicting formats clash, and suddenly external engineers can't fix it on their own. They actually need your internal experts to manually authorize cleansing protocols. Building these robust extraction pipelines and managing this manual reconciliation, that easily slaps a 10 to 15% overlay right on top of your base budget.
Culprit number 2 is integration debt. Think about it. Over a decade, a core business application never stays isolated. It gets tied into CRM tools, marketing platforms, financial systems, the whole shebang. But here's the catch. Many of these point-to-point API connections and data pipelines were built by employees who left the company years ago, and they are entirely undocumented. When development starts, engineers stumble into this invisible web. Re-architecturing these unknown connections to modern standards immediately halts base development, adding yet another 10 to 15% to your costs.
Next is culprit number 3, the parallel run. Phased modernization is definitely the safest approach, often using what's called the strangler fig pattern to safely and incrementally replace old functionality with new microservices. But safety isn't free. It creates a dual-run cost trough. Basically, for a period, sometimes up to a whole year, you are paying twice. You have to fund the legacy hardware and software, the new cloud infrastructure, and the personnel to manually reconcile data between both systems every single day. That is another 5 to 10% added straight to your real budget.
Our final culprit is change management. At its core, software modernization is fundamentally a human challenge. Even if the new system is vastly superior, the transition forces users to abandon years of comfy shortcuts and workarounds. They have to learn a totally new interface. Now, vendors don't quote this because it's on your payroll, but a strategic leader absolutely must account for the temporary dip in productivity, workflow redesign, and user training.
Failing to budget for this guarantees internal resistance and adds at least 5% in hidden costs through lost operational velocity.
Section 3. The cost of inaction. Now, you might be wondering, if modernization is riddled with these 4 hidden traps, why should an organization even attempt it? Why not just stick with the old system?
Well, because keeping the legacy system is far from free. IT surveys show that technical debt actively consumes a whopping 42% of a development team's time. That's time and budget meant for new product development being diverted just to patch up legacy workarounds. It actively blocks your vital digital initiatives and stunts innovation. Maintaining a legacy app is just a massive operational drag.
And this brilliantly illustrates the catastrophic danger of doing nothing. Take Southwest Airlines back in 2022. They suffered a complete crew scheduling meltdown rooted in a 1990s legacy system called SkySolver. Because it couldn't scale during a massive winter storm, over 16,700 flights were canceled. Leadership had treated technical debt as just deferred maintenance rather than a strategic business risk. That decision cost them an estimated $1.2 billion in financial losses and penalties. Deferring modernization can literally be exponentially more expensive than controlling it.
Section 4. Halting the overruns. We obviously can't accept 45% budget blowouts, so let's pivot to the strategic solution and see how we can prevent them before they even start.
The answer lies in structure. A 2025 Government Accountability Office report evaluated critical legacy IT systems and found that failing to meticulously plan and gate critical legacy transitions pretty much guarantees massive schedule delays and cost overruns. Ungated programs, where vendors just bill incrementally without strict oversight, routinely exceed budgets by over 40%. So the crucial point is that we must move away from evaluating flat rate quotes and instead enforce a rigid 5-gate phase payment structure. You tie the vendor's financial compensation exclusively to verifiable exit criteria. For example, Gate 1, the assess phase, pays 10%, but only upon the delivery of a full integration inventory and dependency mapping. If a massive complex data mess is discovered, it's caught at Gate 1, allowing you to adjust the budget way before heavy engineering capital is deployed in Gate 3.
Let's move to and see how this builds into an actual procurement tool. You have to force transparency before signing any contract, and that requires a procurement pressure test. When discussing data migration, ask them straight up, who pays for the manual resolution of formatting exceptions? The only acceptable answer is an automated ETL strategy with clear client duties. For integration debt, demand a protocol for unknown APIs, specifically a change order mechanism via a dependency map. And for the parallel run, demand to know when it terminates, using explicit parity metrics to trigger the final decommissioning of the old system.
So what does this all mean? Are you budgeting for a pristine vacuum, or are you prepared to fund the messy reality of modernization? A base development quote represents modernization happening in a perfect, frictionless void. But as we've seen today, enterprise technology doesn't live in a vacuum. It lives in the messy, real world of complex data, forgotten integrations, overlapping operations, and human resistance. I challenge you to apply these insights to your own technology roadmaps and really investigate your vendor contracts. Are you properly mapping those hidden layers, or are you letting 45% of your budget silently slip away? Thanks for exploring this complex topic with me, and I hope this empowers you to take absolute control of your next major tech transition.